The galaxy was a vast, glittering ocean of stars, planets, and mysteries. Among the countless civilizations, one ruled above all others, the Varkon Dominion. For centuries, their name had spread fear across star systems. Entire worlds had fallen under their control. No fleet could match their strength. No technology could pierce their defenses, and no species could resist their will. The Varkons believed they were invincible, and for a long time the galaxy agreed. On the bridge of the Varkon flagship, Admiral Tirax leaned over a holographic display of star systems. His eyes, sharp and calculating, traced the blue and green dot that represented Earth. He tapped his clawed fingers on the console and smirked. "This one," he said, his voice deep and commanding, "is small, weak, and unworthy of notice." His officers nodded. They had studied this species before. Humans, as they called themselves, had spread to a few nearby systems, building modest colonies and small fleets. They were curious, innovative, and surprisingly persistent, but nothing in their history suggested they could pose a threat to the mighty Dominion. "Prepare the strike fleet," Tirax ordered. "We will teach them the meaning of surrender." The officers bowed, and the preparations began. Starships fired their engines into hyperspace lanes, forming columns of warships that stretched for light years. The Varkon Dominion moved like a tidal wave, inevitable, unstoppable, and merciless. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as it always had. Cities gleamed under the sun, and humans went about their daily routines unaware of the approaching shadow. News reports mentioned strange signals from deep space, but most dismissed them as minor cosmic events. Few realized the Dominion was coming, and fewer still could imagine the scale of what was about to happen. In the colonies, life was slightly different. Humans on Haven 9, a small mining and research colony in the Orion Spur, were used to dealing with unexpected problems, equipment failures, solar storms, supply shortages, but nothing could prepare them for the terror that was coming. The colony's communication officer, Lena Kor, noticed unusual readings on the scanners. Ships had entered the system, and they were moving faster than anything humanity had ever seen. She hurried to the command center, breathless. "Commander Rin," she said, "I think we have visitors, and they're not friendly." Commander Rin, a veteran of several interstellar missions, examined the displays. His face darkened as he saw the shape of the approaching vessels, sleek, black, and bristling with weapons. There was no mistaking them. "Varkons," he whispered. Lena's eyes widened. "They've come for us?" Rin shook his head. "Not just us. All humans. They probably don't even know we're here yet, but once they do, nothing will stop them." Back in the Dominion fleet, Admiral Tirax monitored the communications. The humans had sent no signals, no warnings, no demands. They were silent, almost like they didn't even know what was coming. Tirax allowed himself a thin, cruel smile. "They will beg," he said, "and we will grant them mercy." Eventually, the first strike came without warning. Within hours, orbital defenses on Haven 9 were destroyed, communication arrays were disabled, and the mining stations were set ablaze. Explosions lit the surface like fireworks, and the sky filled with the deafening roar of weapons fire. In the chaos, civilians ran for shelters, and the colony's emergency systems activated. Rin gathered his crew in the command center. "We don't have the firepower to win this battle," he said. "But we can survive long enough to warn Earth. That is our mission." Lena's hands flew across the controls. "I'm sending a distress signal to Earth and the surrounding colonies. It's our only chance." The signal reached the planetary network, jumping across light years in seconds. Somewhere on Earth, the military command received the message. A red alert sounded across command centers and training facilities. Humans were not expecting an attack of this scale, but they were resilient. They never were. On Earth, Captain Alara Voss stood in a training simulator testing a prototype fighter. When the alert came, she froze for a moment, feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline. She had trained for emergencies, for crises, for unknown threats, but this was different. This was the real thing. Her commander appeared on the holoscreen. "Alara, you've been assigned a new mission. It's top secret. You need to report to the Europa shipyards immediately. Take the fastest transport," Alara nodded. "Understood. I'm on my way." She knew, even before she left, that humanity had no large fleet to oppose the Varkons directly. No massive dreadnoughts, no overwhelming armies, no endless reserves of soldiers. But humans had something else, something the Dominion had never faced in its history. determination, ingenuity, and the unwillingness to surrender. Meanwhile, back in Haven 9, the colony's residents fought desperately. Automated turrets opened fire on the Varkon ships. Missiles streaked across the sky, and mining lasers, repurposed as weapons, carved glowing scars into the enemy vessels. It was a losing battle, but it was a battle nonetheless. Rin watched from the command center as explosions tore through the colony's outer sectors. "Hold the line," he told his officers. "Every second we buy counts. Every message we send could save lives elsewhere." Lena's voice trembled but stayed steady. "Commander, the distress signal is being picked up. I can see transmissions bouncing off relay satellites. Earth is receiving it." Rin allowed himself a brief nod. "Good. That means hope still exists." As the Varkon ships advanced, their arrogance became clear. They had never encountered resistance like this. Humans fought not with the expectation of victory, but with the certainty that surrender was not an option. They improvised, adapted, and used every resource available. Every strike from a human turret or missile was a message. We are not defenseless. Thousands of light years away on Mars and the moons of Jupiter, scientists and engineers were already preparing. The Valhalla project, a massive battleship built in secrecy beneath Europa's ice, was nearing completion. Its engines were powerful enough to reach Haven 9 before the next wave of attacks, and its weapons were designed to pierce even the strongest armor of alien warships. Ilara Voss arrived at Europa's secret shipyards to find the crew already assembled. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel were ready, their faces set with determination. She walked across the hangar, taking in the sight of the enormous vessel, the culmination of human skill, courage, and relentless effort. "It's more than a ship," said one of the engineers. "It's a promise. A promise that we will fight for our people no matter the cost." Ilara nodded. "And we will. We cannot let Haven 9 fall completely. We cannot let fear spread across the colonies. Humanity's survival depends on this mission." As the Valhalla's engines roared to life, a bright beam of light stretched across the hangar. It was more than firepower. It was hope. Back in the Varkon Dominion, Admiral Tyrax watched the small blue planet through his viewport. He had never considered humans a threat. They were clever, yes, but no species had ever resisted his fleet and survived. Yet something was changing. Something in the way these humans moved, the way they prepared, the way they refused to surrender. "Send scouts," he commanded. "I want every detail. Nothing escapes me." But even as scouts launched from his fleet, moving like shadows across the void, Tyrax could not see the determination burning within humanity. He could not see the courage that would soon challenge the entire Dominion. He could not see the spark that would ignite a galaxy-wide fight for freedom. On Haven 9, the last defenders prepared for the final push. Explosions shook the colony, and the sky was filled with fire and smoke. But they fought with every ounce of strength they had. They fought for survival, for their families, and for the promise that help would come. Somewhere, far beyond the chaos, the Valhalla was moving through hyperspace, its engines blazing a trail of light across the stars. Humanity's greatest weapon was on its way, and with it came hope. The hope that even the most unstoppable force could be challenged. In the silent darkness of space, two destinies were heading toward each other. The Dominion, confident in its power and humanity, determined to survive. Neither would emerge unchanged from the collision that was about to occur. And in that moment, the galaxy began to whisper a question. Who is truly unstoppable? The stars were calm, glimmering like tiny diamonds against the black canvas of space. But the calm was deceptive. In the Orion Spur, the human colony Haven 9 was under attack. The first strike had arrived without warning, and the quiet of space was shattered by the roar of explosions and the flash of alien energy weapons. Colonial sensors screamed with activity, alarms blaring through every station and facility. Mining drones and cargo ships were destroyed in seconds, their hulls vaporized into shining clouds of debris. Civilians ran through corridors trying to reach shelters and escape pods. But the Dominion's ships were everywhere. The sky was filled with black warships, sleek and angular, bristling with weapons far more advanced than anything humans had built. Commander Rin stood on the command deck of Haven 9's central station. His uniform was scorched in places and his hair was damp with sweat, but his eyes were focused and sharp. Around him, officers barked orders coordinating the colony's defense. "We cannot stop them," one of the lieutenants said, voice shaking. "Our weapons cannot pierce their shields." Rin's jaw tightened. "Then we delay them. Every second we hold counts. Every signal we send could save lives elsewhere. Focus on communication. Get the distress signal out now." Lena Core, the communications officer, had been working feverishly. Her hands flew over the console, sending bursts of encrypted messages across light years. "It's going through," she shouted. "Earth and the nearby colonies are receiving it." Rin nodded. "Good. That is the most important thing. Humanity cannot lose Haven 9 entirely, but if we buy time for the rest, it will matter more." Even as they spoke, the Dominion ships unleashed a barrage of fire. Energy beams sliced through the colony's outer defenses. Explosions rocked the platforms, sending debris into the void. The colony's improvised turrets returned fire, their lasers striking with desperate precision. Mining drills and equipment had been repurposed into weapons, firing molten metal at incoming ships. The defenders were outmatched, but they refused to surrender. Far beyond Haven 9 on Mars and Europa, humans were mobilizing. The Valhalla project, humanity's secret battleship, was nearing completion beneath Europa's icy surface. Its massive hull was protected by layers of reinforced metal, and its engines were capable of reaching Haven 9 faster than any human ship had ever traveled. Its weapons, designed to pierce even the strongest alien armor, were ready. Captain Alara Voss arrived at the hangar, her uniform crisp and clean despite the urgency. She stepped onto the deck, surveying the massive ship with awe and determination. Hundreds of crew members, scientists, engineers, soldiers, and volunteers worked tirelessly to finish the final preparations. "It's ready," said Commander Fay, the chief engineer. "All systems are online. Valhalla is prepared for battle." Alara nodded. "Then we move. The people of Haven 9 are counting on us. We cannot fail." The Valhalla's engines ignited, sending a brilliant glow across the hangar. The ship lifted into space, massive and powerful, cutting through the darkness with purpose. As it jumped into hyperspace, the human crew felt a sense of unity and determination. They knew the odds were against them, but they also knew that humanity never surrendered. Back at Haven 9, the battle reached a critical point. The Dominion's energy weapons had torn through most of the colony's defenses, and explosions shook the surface. Civilians huddled in shelters, praying that help would arrive. Children clung to their parents, eyes wide with fear, while volunteers carried injured workers to safety. Rin gritted his teeth as he watched the destruction. "We hold," he said, voice firm. "Every second we survive is a victory." Suddenly, the alarms blared louder, and the colony sensors detected an unusual energy signature approaching. Lena's eyes widened. "Commander, I'm seeing something massive." "Something unlike anything we've built." Rin frowned. "Describe it." "It's a ship," Lena said, "but enormous. Its shields are powerful. I don't recognize the technology entirely. It's human, I think. It's incredible." Rin's heart skipped a beat. "Could it be the Valhalla?" Lena nodded. "Yes, sir. It's heading straight for Haven 9. It's faster than anything I've ever seen." The news spread quickly through the colony. Hope surged in the hearts of the people. Even as explosions tore through the city, the sight of the massive battleship approaching filled them with courage. The Dominion fleet noticed it too. Admiral Tyrax's eyes narrowed as he studied the readings. "What is that?" he demanded. "It appears to be human technology, but far beyond their usual capabilities." His officers scrambled. "Sensors confirm, Admiral. It is the Valhalla." Tyrax's face darkened. "Impossible. How could they have built something like that without us noticing?" Back on Haven 9, the first human ships launched from the colony in a desperate attempt to distract the Dominion fleet. Small fighters and shuttles darted through space, firing missiles and lasers. The Dominion's weapons targeted them, but their shields held. Every attack bought precious seconds for the civilians to evacuate. Alara's voice came over the colony's communication system. "This is Captain Alara Voss of the Valhalla. We are here to assist. All personnel, follow evacuation protocols and head to the designated safe zones. Humanity will not let you fall." Rin's eyes filled with relief. "It's true. Help is here." The Valhalla emerged from hyperspace with a brilliance that left everyone stunned. Its hull glimmered with energy shields, and its massive guns pointed toward the Dominion fleet. The sheer scale of the ship made even the largest Varkon vessels look small. Alara took a deep breath. "Engage," she ordered. The Valhalla's cannons fired, releasing bolts of concentrated energy that struck the Dominion ships with devastating force. Explosions erupted across the enemy fleet, sending debris spinning through space. The Dominion ships had never encountered weapons like this before. Their shields faltered and their confidence wavered. Admiral Tirax's voice was sharp. "Target that ship. Destroy it before it reaches the colony." But the Valhalla was fast, maneuvering with precision and unleashing a relentless barrage. Every strike from its weapons was calculated, exploiting weaknesses in the Dominion's formations. Rin watched in awe as the battleship tore through the enemy fleet. "They are incredible," he whispered. "I have never seen anything like this." Even as the Valhalla fought, human engineers aboard the colony worked tirelessly to maintain the evacuation systems. Refugees were guided into transport ships, shuttles, and escape pods. Volunteers risked their lives to carry the injured, refusing to leave anyone behind. The Dominion ships attempted to retaliate, but the Valhalla's shields absorbed their attacks. Its energy cannons struck back with precision, targeting weapon systems, engines, and command ships. The Dominion fleet was powerful, but it had underestimated humanity's ingenuity and courage. Ilara monitored the battle from the bridge, her hand steady on the controls. "Focus on the stragglers," she ordered. "We need to protect the evacuation routes." Aura, the ship's AI, responded. "Targeting optimal threats. Evacuation corridors secure. Probability of colony survival increasing exponentially." Ilara allowed herself a small smile. Even in the midst of chaos, humanity was proving its resilience. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they refused to give up. Every civilian saved, every Dominion ship destroyed was a victory. As the first wave of the Dominion attack faltered, the human colony began to stabilize. Fires were still burning, but evacuation was underway. Families reached transport ships and survivors clung to hope as they left the surface. Rin and Lena stood together on the command deck. "They came," Rin said softly. "Just when all seemed lost, they came." Lena nodded, tears in her eyes. "Humanity never gives up. And we have the Valhalla. We have hope." In the distance, the Dominion fleet regrouped, realizing that their initial confidence had been shattered. Admiral Tirax stared at the Valhalla, his mind racing. "This is unprecedented," he muttered. "No species should be able to resist us like this. But these humans, they are different." Back on Haven 9, the civilians looked to the stars, seeing the massive battleship moving through space. For the first time, they believed they might survive. For the first time, they believed that humanity, small and underestimated, could stand against the unstoppable Dominion. Ilara Voss watched the colony from the bridge of the Valhalla. Her voice was calm but firm. "This is just the beginning. The Dominion thought they were unstoppable. They thought they could crush us easily. But we are human, and humans never surrender." As the Valhalla unleashed another salvo, striking the Dominion fleet with precise power, the first strike of the battle came to an end. The Dominion had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would echo across the galaxy. The stars were no longer quiet. The battle had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The colony of Haven 9 had been a quiet place once. Nestled in a small system at the edge of human-settled space, it had thrived on mining rare minerals and conducting research. Families lived among the domes and towers, children laughed in the parks, and scientists worked tirelessly in laboratories beneath the surface. It had never been a place of war, until the Varkon Dominion arrived. Even after the Valhalla appeared and fought the Dominion fleet in the first strike, the battle was far from over. The colony's defenses had bought precious time, but the cost had been immense. Structures lay in ruins, fires burned across the surface, and the once bustling city streets were now silent and filled with smoke. Civilians huddled in shelters, their faces pale but determined. Commander Rin moved through the underground command center, checking on the survivors. "Status report," he demanded of Lieutenant Morrow. Morrow's hands shook as he worked the console. "We've evacuated most civilians to the orbital transports, sir. Injured personnel are being stabilized, but the Dominion keeps coming. They're relentless." Rin clenched his fists. "We knew they wouldn't stop. But we've done everything we could. Every life saved matters." Above the surface, the Dominion fleet circled like vultures. Despite losing a significant number of ships to the Valhalla's attack, they were far from defeated. Their energy beams carved arcs of fire through the air, and small strike craft hunted the evacuation ships. The Dominion had expected humanity to crumble, but now, even as the colony fell into chaos, humans were showing the spark of resistance that had long been underestimated. In the command center, Lena Core monitored the communication channels. She saw messages from survivors trapped in debris and fires calling for help. "Commander, there are still groups down there," she said urgently. "They need extraction." Rin nodded. "We cannot reach everyone, but we save as many as possible. Humanity never leaves anyone behind." Meanwhile, in orbit, the Valhalla hovered like a sentinel. Its massive hull glinted in the sunlight, and its weapon systems were still active. Captain Ilara Voss observed the surface through the ship's sensors. The colony was damaged, yes, but there was still hope. "Target the Dominion strike teams," she ordered. "Protect the evacuation routes and make sure every civilian ship can leave safely." Aura, the ship's AI, responded instantly. Optimal trajectories calculated. Enemy units neutralized. Evacuation corridors secure. Ilara's eyes scanned the fleet formations. The Dominion had adapted quickly after their first encounter. They now moved with greater coordination, trying to flank the Valhalla and cut off escape routes. But humanity had learned too. They anticipated every move, using small fighters and automated defense drones to shield the transports. On the surface, resistance teams made daring moves through the ruined colony. Groups of volunteers, engineers, and security personnel carried supplies and aided the injured, often risking their lives under enemy fire. One team rescued a family trapped in a collapsed dome, using makeshift beams to lift debris while dodging energy blasts from Varkon ships overhead. "Move faster," shouted Sergeant Core, a veteran of orbital mining operations turned militia leader. "We cannot let them fall." In the chaos, civilians watched as the Valhalla engaged enemy ships with devastating precision. Huge bolts of energy cut through the sky, striking Varkon vessels with explosions that sent shockwaves across the colony. Children peered from shelters, mesmerized by the power of the battleship. Even in fear, hope ignited in their hearts. Admiral Tirax aboard his flagship watched the unfolding battle with disbelief. He had expected the humans to break immediately, to surrender once the first bombardment hit. But these humans, small, fragile, untested, continued to fight. "Impossible," he muttered. "How can they resist like this?" His officers, uneasy and tense, looked at him. "Sir, their fleet is small, but their tactics, unusual, highly adaptive. Their ship, Valhalla, appears capable of taking on multiple vessels at once." Tirax's eyes narrowed. "Do not underestimate them. Destroy their fleet. Crush this colony. Leave nothing alive." But even as he gave the command, the humans demonstrated that courage could overcome fear. The Valhalla moved with elegance through the chaos, targeting strike teams, disabling enemy ships without unnecessary destruction, and allowing evacuation corridors to remain open. Humanity was not fighting for conquest, they were fighting for life. Below the surface, Rin and his team coordinated one final effort. Evacuation shuttles were preparing to leave, carrying civilians and wounded personnel. The Dominion had noticed the Valhalla's precision, and they adjusted their strategy, aiming to trap as many ships as possible before they could escape. "Commander," Lena said, voice tight with tension, "the Dominion's reinforcements are approaching. They'll be here in minutes." Rin clenched his jaw. "Then we finish what we started. Everyone focus. Humanity survives tonight." As the first reinforcements arrived, the Valhalla unleashed a spectacular display of firepower. Its energy cannons struck with pinpoint accuracy, taking out enemy vessels before they could target the transports. Explosions lit the sky, and the Dominion fleet staggered under the assault. Still, the human defenders on the ground knew their time was limited. Haven 9 was not going to survive intact. Explosions rocked the colony, shaking the shelters and throwing debris into the air. Fires spread across the city and entire districts collapsed under bombardment. Yet, in the midst of destruction, humanity's determination shone brightest. Rin guided the last groups of civilians to escape pods and shuttle bays. "Move quickly," he shouted. "Don't stop for anything." Lena coordinated communications, ensuring that each shuttle followed a safe trajectory toward the Valhalla. Families, scientists, and volunteers clung to hope as they left the surface, their eyes fixed on the massive battleship guarding them. Even as the colony fell, A sense of pride filled the survivors. They had resisted against impossible odds. They had shown courage in the face of overwhelming power. Humanity had survived the first strike, and that survival was a statement to the galaxy. In orbit, the Valhalla continued its assault, systematically dismantling the Dominion's attack. Ilara Voss watched the results of their efforts with a mix of satisfaction and concern. "We're buying time," she said. "But the fight is far from over," Aura responded, its voice calm and precise. "Colony evacuation is proceeding optimally. Remaining civilian casualties minimized. Enemy forces disrupted. Probability of successful extraction 92%, Ilara nodded. "Good, keep pushing. Humanity's fight has only begun." Meanwhile, Admiral T-Rex was forced to retreat some of his forces. The human's ingenuity and determination had thrown his plans into chaos. His fleet had suffered heavy losses, and his confidence, the thing that had made him so dangerous, was shaken. "This species, they are different," he muttered, anger and disbelief warring in his mind. "How can such small creatures resist us so effectively?" Back on Haven 9, the last evacuation shuttles departed, carrying civilians to safety. Fires still raged. Structures lay in ruins, and the ground shook from the Dominion bombardment. Yet humanity had achieved what seemed impossible. They had survived. Rin and Lena remained in the command center until the last shuttle left. Only then did they allow themselves a brief moment of relief. "We made it," Lena whispered, tears streaming down her face. Rin nodded, looking out at the smoking ruins of Haven 9. "For now. But this is just the beginning. The Dominion will not stop. Humanity must be ready." Ilara, aboard the Valhalla, knew the same thing. The first strike had been devastating, but it had also revealed something crucial. Humans were not weak, and they were not alone. Their courage, ingenuity, and determination had turned the tide even in the darkest moment. As the Valhalla moved away from the burning colony, leaving behind what remained of Haven 9, the humans on board understood a simple truth. The fight for survival had begun, and humanity would face it head-on. Somewhere in the shadows of space, the Varkons regrouped. Admiral T-Rex's eyes burned with fury. He had underestimated humanity, and it had cost him dearly. But he vowed one thing. He would not allow this species to rise. He would crush them no matter what it took. And somewhere, far beyond the battle-scarred worlds, the galaxy watched. It had seen the courage of humans, small, fragile, and underestimated, and it had taken note. Something had changed. The Dominion's shadow was not as complete as it once seemed. The spark of resistance had been lit. Humanity had survived the fall of Haven 9, but the war had only begun. The galaxy had never seen a battle like the one about to unfold. The Varkon Dominion, confident and arrogant, believed that humanity could be crushed easily. Yet the small but determined human forces had shown a spark the Dominion had never anticipated. The Valhalla, humanity's greatest warship, now led the charge, ready to demonstrate the courage, ingenuity, and relentless spirit that had always defined humans. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the Valhalla, her eyes scanning the battlefield through the massive viewports. Star systems stretched out around her, dotted with the blinking lights of ships, both human and Dominion. Fires from Haven 9's destruction still burned faintly on the colony's surface, but the humans who had escaped carried hope into the depths of space. "Status report," she commanded. "Aura." The ship's AI responded in its calm, measured voice. "All systems operational. Weapons ready. Shields at maximum. Enemy fleet is regrouping. Probability of human victory, 67% with optimized tactics." Ilara allowed herself a small, grim smile. "We can do better than that. Engage full offensive protocols. Let's show them the meaning of resistance." The Dominion fleet had not underestimated the humans, they had learned caution. But even so, they were unprepared for the Valhalla's speed, agility, and firepower. Its massive energy cannons glowed with a blue-white light as they unleashed a barrage, striking Varkon ships in rapid succession. Explosions blossomed across the enemy formation, sending metal and fire spinning into the void. Admiral Tyrax gritted his teeth, watching the destruction. "Focus all fire on that ship. Do not let it escape." But the humans were far from reckless. Small human fighters darted between Dominion vessels, launching coordinated attacks. Automated drones swarmed enemy ships, targeting their engines and shields. Every human movement was precise, calculated, and purposeful. They were fighting not just with weapons, but with courage and ingenuity. "Captain," said Lieutenant Wren, Valhalla's tactical officer, "enemy reinforcements approaching from the outer rim. They're attempting a flanking maneuver." Ilara nodded. "Prepare intercept. Deploy fighter squadrons and drone units. I want them blocked before they reach the main formation." Minutes later, human fighter squadrons streamed from the Valhalla's hangars, weaving through the chaos of the Dominion fleet. They dodged energy beams, launched missiles, and disrupted enemy formations. Drones followed, using their small size to slip past shields and disable engines. Aura calculated trajectories and attack strategies in milliseconds, feeding commands to human pilots. The Valhalla moved with precision, striking critical targets while minimizing unnecessary destruction. Every shot counted. Every maneuver mattered. In the midst of the chaos, Ilara's mind focused on one thing: protect the innocent, protect humanity, and fight for every life the Dominion sought to crush. On the Dominion side, Admiral Tyrax's confidence faltered. He had never encountered a species capable of such coordination under pressure. Their small fleets, once considered insignificant, now challenged his warships in ways no one had expected. "Adapt tactics," he ordered. "Focus on their command ship. If we destroy the Valhalla, the rest will fall." The Dominion concentrated fire on the Valhalla. Energy beams struck the shields, shaking the massive hull. The ship rocked slightly under the impact, but its shields held. Human engineers inside worked tirelessly, repairing minor damage and adjusting shield output to absorb the next wave. "Shields at 80%, reported Engineer Toma. "We can hold, but more hits like this will cause serious strain." Ilara's voice was steady. "Maintain focus. Keep moving. Don't let them pin us down. Humanity never backs down." The Dominion launched a massive assault, coordinating hundreds of ships in a single focused strike. The Valhalla's shields glimmered under the pressure, and its weapons responded with deadly accuracy. Cannons fired, beams cut, and missiles detonated, systematically dismantling the enemy formation. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes, lighting the dark space with fire. Admiral Tyrax watched in disbelief. "Impossible," he hissed. One human ship is destroying my fleet." But it was not just the Valhalla. The humans had learned from their first strike. Smaller vessels, volunteers, and automated units coordinated with the battleship, forming a web of resistance the Dominion could not penetrate. Every maneuver was precise. Every attack calculated. Humanity was using strategy, courage, and innovation to overcome overwhelming odds. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news of the battle spread. Other civilizations previously subdued or enslaved by the Dominion observed in awe. A spark of hope ignited. Humanity had challenged the seemingly unstoppable Dominion and had survived. That hope would not be forgotten. In the Valhalla's command room, Ilara observed the Dominion flagship, its shields cracking under relentless fire. "Prepare the rail cannon," she ordered. The massive weapon, capable of piercing even the strongest armor, was humanity's ultimate strike. "Acknowledged," said Aura. "Targeting optimal points on flagship hull. Probability of critical damage, 93%. The rail cannon fired. A beam of pure energy tore through the enemy flagship, breaching shields and striking vital systems. The ship shuddered violently before exploding in a cloud of fire and debris. Several nearby vessels were damaged by the shockwave, and the Dominion's fleet formation faltered. Admiral Tyrax's face was pale. "Retreat, regroup. Do not let them destroy us entirely." For the first time in their history, the Varkan Dominion retreated. The humans were not merely surviving, they were winning. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the supposedly invincible fleet withdrew, leaving humanity and their allies in control of the battlefield. Ilara allowed herself a small breath of relief. "We did it," she whispered. "For now. But the fight is far from over," Aura responded calmly. "Dominion forces retreating. Colony evacuation successful. Civilian survival rate 89%. Human victory in this engagement confirmed." The crew of the Valhalla erupted in cheers. After days of tension, fear, and relentless pressure, humanity had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the most powerful enemy. Below, in the aftermath of Haven 9, humans returned to the remnants of their colony. Fires burned still, but the survivors were alive. Children clung to parents, families were reunited, and the injured received care. Humanity had survived the first major assault of the Dominion, and that survival would echo across the stars. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the Valhalla's bridge, looking at the stars ahead. Her mind was calm, her resolve stronger than ever. "This is only the beginning," she said. "The Dominion believe they were unstoppable, but they have not yet faced humanity united." In the distance, other civilizations observed the aftermath. Enslaved species whispered stories of humans who dared to fight back, spreading hope across systems that had long been dominated by fear. Humanity's courage had become a symbol, an inspiration, and a warning. Do not underestimate humans. Admiral Tirax, nursing his wounded pride, realized the truth. Humanity was not weak. They were not fragile. They were dangerous not because of brute force alone, but because of their unity, their courage, and their unyielding spirit. "Humans," he muttered. "They may yet be the end of us." Back aboard the Valhalla, Alara addressed her crew. "Remember what we have done today. We fought against impossible odds and survived. But the Dominion will not stop. We must be ready for what comes next. Humanity fights not for power, but for life, for hope, and for freedom. And as long as we stand together, there is nothing we cannot face." The crew saluted, their faces resolute. They had seen what human courage could achieve. The galaxy had seen it too, and somewhere deep in the Dominion fleet, shadows of doubt and fear began to spread. The once unshakable confidence of the invaders had been broken. Humanity had proven that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire that could challenge the stars themselves. The battle that shook the stars had been won. Humanity had survived, and the galaxy would never forget it. The galaxy had changed forever. The Varkon Dominion, once thought invincible, had suffered a shocking defeat at the hands of humanity. Their fleet, feared across the stars, had been shattered. Their arrogance, their certainty of domination, had been broken by a species they had underestimated. Humanity had survived impossible odds, and in doing so, they had proven a truth the galaxy would never forget. Courage, unity, and ingenuity could triumph over even the strongest foe. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of the Valhalla, watching the stars stretch out before her. The remnants of the Dominion fleet retreated into distant systems, leaving behind wreckage that glimmered faintly in the void. Space was littered with the remains of alien warships, and human engineers carefully navigated through the debris to ensure that no civilians remained trapped. "Aura," Alara said, her voice calm but firm. "Status report on the Dominion fleet?" The AI responded instantly, precise and measured. "Dominion forces have retreated. Estimates indicate a loss of 62% of their fleet. Probability of Dominion regrouping in the near term, low. Human casualties minimal compared to potential losses. Colony evacuations complete. Civilian survival rate, 93%. Alara allowed herself a small smile. "Humanity has survived, and we will continue to survive." Below, on the former surface of Haven 9, humans moved among the ruins of their colony. Fires still burned, but families and survivors worked together to salvage what they could. Engineers repaired damaged systems, volunteers distributed supplies, and children, though shaken, found ways to play among the wreckage, their laughter echoing like a promise for the future. Commander Rin stood among them, watching as humans rebuilt and helped each other. His uniform was scorched, his hands calloused, but his eyes shone with pride. "We survived," he said softly. "We survived, and we will rise stronger than before." Nearby, Lieutenant Lena Kor coordinated communications with other human colonies. Messages of relief and survival were being sent to every corner of human space. Some colonies had already begun preparing defenses of their own, inspired by Haven 9's resistance and the arrival of the Valhalla. Humanity was no longer small or weak. It was a force to be reckoned with. Far beyond, in the remnants of the Dominion fleet, Admiral Tirax stared at the damage with disbelief. He had faced countless civilizations and crushed them without mercy. Yet humans had survived, and in their survival they had shown something he could not destroy: hope. "They are different," he whispered to his officers. "We thought them weak, but they fought with unity, with courage, and with cunning beyond anything we anticipated. Humanity may yet become a threat greater than we imagined." The Dominion's once unshakable confidence had been broken. Their shadow no longer stretched across the stars as completely as it once had. And somewhere in the galaxy, enslaved or subjugated species began to whisper stories of humans who dared to resist, spreading hope and inspiration to worlds long dominated by fear. On the Valhalla, Ilara addressed her crew. "We have won this battle," she said, her voice echoing through the ship. "But this is not the end. The Dominion will return, and others may follow in their footsteps. Our duty is to protect humanity, to protect life, and to ensure that no one else suffers as Haven 9 did. We fight not for power, but for hope, freedom, and the right to exist." Her crew listened, each member feeling the weight of their responsibility and the strength of their achievement. Soldiers, engineers, and pilots alike understood that this was more than a victory. It was a statement to the galaxy. Humanity was united, fearless, and determined. Meanwhile, across human-settled space, other colonies began to rise. Inspired by Haven 9's courage and the Valhalla's triumph, communities organized defenses, built fleets, and trained personnel. Humans had learned that survival depended not only on technology, but also on courage, cooperation, and the willingness to stand against overwhelming odds. On Mars, scientists studied the remains of Dominion vessels, reverse engineering systems to better prepare for the future. On Titan, engineers built new ships designed to complement the Valhalla. Humanity was no longer reactive. They were proactive, ready to face the galaxy on their own terms. Back on the Valhalla, Ilara watched a small group of survivors depart toward a nearby safe world. Families embraced, children held tight to parents, and volunteers waved from the ships. Humanity's resilience was not measured by strength alone. It was measured by compassion, determination, and the willingness to protect life, no matter the cost. "Aura," Ilara said quietly, "calculate the projected recovery and defense time for the colonies. Humanity must be prepared for any future threat." "Calculations complete," Aura responded. "With current resources, colonies can be stabilized within 6 standard cycles. Defensive measures can be deployed within 2 standard cycles. Probability of successful preparation, 98%. Ilara nodded, satisfied. "Good. Humanity will endure, and humanity will rise." In the Dominion's distant systems, Admiral Tirax plotted his next move. The humans had won this battle, but he was not defeated. Still, he realized something profound. Humanity was not a race to be underestimated. They had shown resilience, ingenuity, and courage that even the most powerful empire could not easily suppress. Somewhere, far across the galaxy, other species who had long suffered under Dominion rule took note. The legend of the humans who fought back spread, igniting a spark of hope in those who had been silenced for centuries. Humanity's fight had become more than survival. It had become a symbol of freedom and courage. Ilara, standing on the bridge of the Valhalla, watched as stars passed by, glimmering like countless possibilities. "We are just one species," she said softly, "but our spirit is unbreakable. If we continue to fight for what is right, no force in the galaxy can ever truly destroy us." The crew of the Valhalla, united in purpose and proud of their achievement, looked out into the stars with hope and determination. They had survived the first encounter with the Dominion. They had saved countless lives. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome the most powerful enemy. And somewhere in the depths of space, the galaxy whispered a warning. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Do not underestimate humans. For when humanity rises, the impossible falls. Across human space, a new era began. Colonies rebuilt, fleets were strengthened, alliances were forged. Humanity's presence was no longer hidden or fragile. It was formidable, respected, and feared in equal measure. Humans had learned that their greatest weapon was not the Valhalla alone, nor any technology, but their unity, courage, and unwavering determination to protect life. Back on the Valhalla, Ilara and her crew set their course for the next mission. The Dominion had been beaten back, but humanity's journey had only begun. The galaxy was vast, filled with unknown threats and opportunities alike. Yet, for the first time in centuries, humans could look to the stars without fear. They had proven that even in the face of an unstoppable force, determination, courage, and unity could turn the tide. Humanity had risen from the edge of destruction to become a symbol of hope. Ilara's voice rang across the bridge. Set a course for the next human settlement. We will protect our people and we will prepare for the future. Humanity stands and humanity will endure. Always. The stars stretched endlessly before them, but the humans aboard the Valhalla did not fear the darkness. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had faced the invaders and won, and they knew, deep in their hearts, that as long as humanity stood together, no enemy, no matter how powerful, could ever break them. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of humanity, and from that moment on, one truth was clear to all who dared to conquer or threaten them. Humans may be underestimated, but they are never defeated. Hope, courage, and resilience had triumphed. Humanity's story had only begun, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, as if celebrating the rise of a species that refused to surrender.